It's a joy to be with you here at the Real America's Voice Lance Wallnau Show. We affectionately also call this the firewall, America's firewall, because we're going to always be dealing with subjects that are going to be restraining the darkness. And that's one of the reasons why we're going to be doing our big Courage Tour this year. You want to check it out, the Courage Tour. I'm hoping that RAV is going to be, we're going to be covering it on RAV, so that's why I'm promoting it now, to let you know we're going to go to the 7 battleground states live. We're going to be, boom, right there in the front lines of the great election cycle. Mercedes Sparks?
Yes, sir.
Are you glad to be with us today?
Always.
We have a power-packed program. Let's get right into today's program. I'm back in the office today. You know, I arrived today at 4 o'clock in the morning. Came in from flying around 9 days on the road, talking about saving America. 7 states, 19 counties. Folks, it's coming down to the wire. We got 9 months and the amount of time it takes to make a baby. We're either going to have a nation rebirthed in liberty, or we're going to have, dare I say, the abortion of democracy. What's going to happen in 9 months? We're going to find out. We're calling it the Courage Tour. You can go check it out, thecouragetour.com. You can reserve your seats. We encourage you to get your seats right now because we're going to be going to 19 key counties out of 3,143. We picked the 19 that are going to determine the future of America. Reserve your seats. Make sure you support this bold and noble effort. Mario Murillo is going to be doing, my friend, the wonderful evangelist, is going to be doing the work that he's been doing all over the country with preaching the gospel with power and with demonstration. And I'm going to be working with various political leaders and reformers and thought leaders, including Charlie Kirk's organization, Turning Point Action. See, we're under this scrutiny constantly of all kinds of people that are trying to attack us. See, they want to silence Christians is the point. First, they want to slander us and call us Christian nationalists, that we're crazy. Then they want to silence us when we want to do something. Oh, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that. Well, you got freedom of speech, people. Use it while you can. By the way, even that's limited. Did I tell you I had 200,000 subscribers wiped out by the lords of Google with those great big googly eyes spying me out? YouTube. I called them up. I said, hey, you just gave me my second award for 200,000 people. And a week later, you just wiped me out. Why? Well, it's up to you to know our community standards. There's an opaque Rorschach test for clarity. Community standards. What did I say? Maybe I said something about the insurrection accusation of January 6th. Maybe it was about the COVID vaccine. Maybe it was about the election fraud. Who knows? There are so many trigger warnings you have to have these days.
Well, worse yet, it wasn't any of that. It was that they made up a new rule and then they apply it retroactively to any videos you've ever recorded at any time.
Oh, I bet it was a trans rule.
Probably.
I think it was the trans thing, now that I think about it. Going back in the archives to 3 years ago, kind of like when they take a comedian off the Oscars because of a joke they told in 1987. Well, you know, we're living in strange times, but it could be worse. It could be worse. We are free to speak now, and you can hear our voice. And I'm looking forward to, hey, Mitch McConnell stepping down. Now, this is old news for you. I realize that, but I wonder if we understand the significance of this. Ronna McDaniel, Mitch McConnell, those are two icons of the opposition, I would say, to the MAGA momentum that are out of the way now. McConnell was challenged by Cruz and a couple of other senators. Step down, because he's like pro-Ukraine, pro-Zelensky, out of touch. We don't care about the border with Vladimir when we got the border in the United States. You guys have that Dr. Phil segment ready to go? Are you ready in season, out of season, Mr. Producer? Play that Dr. Phil, Joe Rogan thing for our audience here. I want you guys to hear this.
The these children that are coming in with someone that says, I'm their mother, aunt, uncle, or whatever, we have no way of verifying that.
We do not. We used to. Under President Trump, we had rapid DNA testing. That's been done away with.
Are they given money to these people that are released into the country?
So it's our taxpayers that ultimately facilitate the travel. But yes, travel is facilitated, and they are given all the necessities that they need.
But that could be a trafficker.
There's a very good possibility that they're being trafficked, that they're going into the sex industry, or they're being forced into the sweatshops.
And we know that. We knowingly are spending our tax dollars to sell children into sex trafficking. How, under any theory, is that okay for us to be spending tax dollars to traffic children?
Who's the guy with Project Veritas that was wearing the glasses for that interview?
James O'Keefe.
James O'Keefe. I'm looking at Phil, Dr. Phil. I know Dr. Phil, and I didn't recognize him with the glasses, the sunglasses. And I'm going, the guy sounds like Dr. Phil, but that's not Dr. Phil. And it took me till the second part of the interview when I realized, oh, it is Dr. Phil. That was like the James O'Keefe. I wonder if that other guy knows it was Dr. Phil. You think maybe he thought it was a disguise? The impenetrable disguises of celebrities. Where's my glasses? If I put these on, do you think that I'd deceive the audience? Hey, I'm undercover.
That's Lance Chance right there.
That's it. This is Lance Chance. I do look a little bit like that. I wanted to be a DJ when I was younger, and I wanted to go by the name of Lance LaChance. I thought, and because I had a friend of mine named Dave LaChance, who was a pastor, and we put our churches together for a party once. I'll never forget it. The DJ said, "Man, I wish I had your name." And he got our names combined. He said, Lance LaChance. If I could have that name, I'd be the biggest DJ up here. And I thought, no, that's Dave LaChance. I'm Lance Wallnau. He goes, oh, man, Lance LaChance, what a name. All right, so Dr. Phil, not to take away from what he said, taxpayer money. Does it make you want to pull your hair out? All right. Worse yet, the DNA thing. Do you know what? Well, my friend Ramiro, let me tell you a little story. A little inside baseball here. Ramiro Pena went down, who works with the Trump diversity group. He's in Waco, Texas. He's one of the early Hispanic pastors that went on national television and really endorsed Donald Trump, which is funny because he was a cruise guy, and he's a friend of mine. And I, in my own prophetic way, pulled him aside one day. I said, I believe you're going to be working with Donald Trump. He goes, no, Cruz. I go, no, Cruz isn't going to make it. It's going to be Trump. And I predicted Trump. Well, then he called me up. He said, you won't believe it. I've been tapped by Donald Trump's team to work with him. He goes down to the border back when Jeff Sessions, remember Jeff Sessions, was the Attorney General. Mercedes, you listening to me?
Yes, I am.
I'm looking. You're on a live program. I'm looking for you for support.
I'm listening over here.
Are you working
Jeff
over there?
Sessions. He was a cruise guy.
Oh, yeah.
Then you're like, you're going to be the Trump guy.
You're driving the car. Are you listening to me? And you repeat back the last thing you said.
No. It's one of those things where I'm like, I've been with you for 8 years, so I'm like, I've heard it like 8 times. So I'm also listening and I'm tracking with you.
Such feedback to bring out the best in me. Jeff Sessions gets a call from Ramiro Pena, who is at the border. And Ramiro says, he's praying. He goes, Lord, it's got to be something that Donald Trump can do. These kids that are here are being trafficked with sex trafficking. There's DNA testing that within 8 seconds can tell you if the swab from the saliva of the parent matches the child DNA. It's amazing, really. You think about it. He contacts Jeff Sessions, goes up to Washington, meets with Jeff Sessions. Sessions has a meeting with him, calls in some experts. He said, I've looked into what you said, and DNA could be used to verify that the child and the parent are actually together as opposed to a coyote or a sex trafficker. Now, get this, I want you to hear this. Oh, that my voice was amplified 1,000 times so that everyone could hear this. Donald Trump puts that practice into effect and right away starts separating children that are in the custody of adults that claim to be parents that are not their parents. You're not going to lie if you know you're going to be found out with a cotton swab. So now you're separating parents from coyotes, et cetera, like that, right? You got a different problem, but at least you can verify who the real parents are. Let them through, if you're going to do that way. What did Joe Biden do? And I'm going to say this. It wasn't for the purpose of facilitating sex trafficking. I'm not that large a conspiracy theorist. It's because the optics, I saw photographs of the optics of the slowed process, which journalists could then get pictures of 6,000 to 10,000 at a time that are all waiting in the queue for the process and procedure. And what the Democrats did do that is even more despicable, they said, stop it with the DNA testing. Oh, sure, we're discovering where children are being sex trafficked, but it's terrible optics because it shows the crap. Let them get in dribs and drabs and constantly, it doesn't look as bad as several thousand waiting for the DNA testing. So they stopped it because of the photo optics that were embarrassing the administration when it showed the actual number. So I leave it to you to say which sin is more grievous. But we do have, with 1 minute and 53 seconds left, we do have heroes of the faith. I've got Laura Logan coming up. Laura Logan calls out in this Twitter, chief nerd, you guys put it up there, I'm sure, calls out how the U.S. government funds NGOs to be their political assassins. Do you realize NGOs are bringing in to the United States these non-government organizations, these 501c3s like Media Matters? Do you know that talking soundbite thing we've all seen where everybody's saying the constitutional threat to democracy, the threat to democracy, the threat to democracy, the threat to democracy, the threat to democracy. And they're all saying the same thing. They're called Media Matters talking points. This is the Soros left-wing funded, AI-generated, bot, almost like something out of the Matrix that goes over all the sound bites to troll people like me and others on our side in order to find the incendiary moment of indiscretion in order to exploit it. It's like a demon that catches you in a sin and puts it on a screen if they can do so. Like they're doing right now with the Virginia lady, who referred to a trans guy as a guy when he self-identifies as a woman, and she made a mistake. What's her name?
I don't know.
Sweet, it begins with an S. But she made the mistake of actually referring to him, yes, sir. Made a sir comment because it's a guy who says he's a woman. And she made that mistake, Sweeney or something like that. She made that mistake. Anyway, these bots will find out anything you say that's wrong, but they also enforce the same language in the robots on the left in media. Well, Laura Logan calls them out and exposes them. They're NGOs and they're 501c3s. They must be exposed. We'll be right back with Laura Logan. I want to take a moment to talk about the volatile financial time that we're in. And I want you to empower yourself with knowledge. My people perish for lack of knowledge, the Bible says. Visit lancewallnau.com/birch and get a free information kit. Consider discussing how to shift your 401k or your retirement account into a tax-sheltered gold and silver account. Why don't you go to lancewallnau.com/birch right now and take action for a secure future. I'll tell you what, nothing makes me more challenged than my sanctification index. And watching The View, I can't handle The View. I would never go on The View. It would be, if you ever see me on The View, it'll be like the audible voice of God that I go there. Because you talk about trigger warnings. They just start talking. And I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. You know, like one of the great crimes that took place that I think we have amnesia about. 2 years of COVID lockdown. It's almost like we all blocked it out of our memory.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
2 years of COVID lockdown. And you know who suffered the most? Children. As you'll find out, when 2008, 2009, when smartphones came out and these little devices came out and every kid started getting absorbed, and then suddenly depression and suicide and mental disorders. Because Steve Jobs himself, before he died, said that he challenged people to get the heck off of these things. He never invented this to become a surrogate for living life. Imagine that. Jobs would be the first guy he'd be like really interesting because he loves making his money as technology, but he would talk about get a life. Don't live on a screen. Live your own life. Anyway, Dr. Phil, brings up the obvious in this segment of The View. And he says, hey man, the mental health destruction that came to our children, and what's worse yet is the government cut off the civil services that monitored parent and guardian abuse of children during COVID. And he gets pushback from Whoopi. Well, what are you saying? You guys just watch it and see. Am I the only guy that needs a trigger warning? Check this out.
Like 08, 09, smartphones came on, and kids they stopped living their lives and started watching people live their lives. And so we saw the biggest spike and the highest levels of depression, anxiety, loneliness, and suicidality since records have ever been kept. And it's just continued on and on and on. And then COVID hits 10 years later, and the same agencies that knew that are the agencies that shut down the schools for 2 years. Who does that? Who takes away the support system for these children? Who takes them away and shuts it down? And by the way, when they shut it down, they stopped the mandated reporters from being able to see children that were being abused and sexually molested, and in fact sent them home and abandoned them to their abusers with no way to watch, and referrals dropped 50 to 60%. So
there was also a pandemic going on, and they were trying to save
kids' lives. Remember, we know a lot of folks who died during this. So it wasn't, people weren't laying around eating bond, but, well, you know what? We're lucky. Maybe we're lucky they didn't, because we kept them out of the places that they could be sick, because no one wanted to believe we had an issue.
Are you saying no school children died of COVID?
I'm saying it was the safest group. They were the less vulnerable group, and they suffered and will suffer more from the mismanagement of COVID than they will from the exposure to COVID. And that's not an opinion, that's a fact.
Well, Phil?
Well, you can hear that reluctant applause, but you can't help it. It's the SEALs have got to do something when, you know.
It reminds me of that Jim Brewer. You ever watch Jim Brewer live, and he talks about how, like, they're parakeets and they repeat stuff. It's like, people died, kids died, and you're like, oh my goodness, all of them at the same time. People died.
But you can, the moment that he said, here's the trigger, the same institutions that knew all this, meaning government agencies, they shut down not only the schools and increased the epidemic of suicide, depression, but they stopped the reporting in of the sexual predators and the abusers so that the children could be protected. They shut that off. And Whoopi Goldberg jumps right in along with the other one going, are you saying that the children weren't being protected from dying by going to school? These people are like, they have no facts. They have no interest in facts. The death rate that happened with children, because shockingly enough, it wasn't the children that were in the high-risk group. They were in the lowest risk group. It was the people that had obesity and other, comorbidities, diabetics, heart condition, high blood pressure.
Pre-existing conditions type of thing.
Age, old, elderly. Kind of like the ultimate stupid move. You want to give the stupid award. It would go to the Governor Cuomo, who remember they had him in his leather jackets doing his briefings there for TV every night. That was when Michael Avenatti would be like trotted out 40 times talking about Trump before he goes off to jail as a lunatic. They have Governor Cuomo with his jacket on. I need respirators. Guy's a lunatic, idiot. What does he do? We're going to take all the high-risk parents you've got. We're going to lock them up with the COVID people. Yep, we're going to take the people that have COVID and stick them with your parents in the nursing homes. And we're going to shut off the nursing homes. You're not going to see your parents. All I can tell you is we're taking every step we can to protect the public. Oh, yes, Lara Logan. I was going to go with Lara a minute ago. Now, you talk about winding me up. Now Lara Logan is very courageous, ladies and gentlemen. This is a model woman when it comes to taking a stand. Now she was on CNN. She's won all these awards. She would have just kept her mouth shut and played the game. She'd be on every night. talking about the moderate to left agenda and promoting it. But she's a real journalist. I want you to hear her giving her testimony to the governor of the senator of Wisconsin. The senator of Wisconsin, which, by the way, this guy, thank God he's there, because the senator in Wisconsin is one of the few people that we have that is actually exposing the election fraud, and we got to hit Wisconsin with. We're going to do it with our Courage Tour. We're going to Wisconsin. Remember that. Go to thecouragetour.com, sign up, because we're going to save the states and drive the left crazy. All right, here we go.
You've been targeted over the last 10 years. Can you describe what precipitated your targeting?
Yes, I'm reporting the truth about Benghazi. I was attacked by one of those NGOs that masquerades as a nonpartisan watchdog. In violation of its 501(c) status, it occupies a highly partisan position. I'm talking about Media Matters for America. I'm sure there's many doctors in this room, scientists who've been attacked by the same people that run that. David Brock, for example, another political assassin, now runs an organization called Facts First USA, which is designed to make sure that your research, Dr. Hassan, never reaches the people or the public. There are other organizations like Defeat Disinfo, which claims to be a PAC that goes after disinformation, particularly set up to target COVID and throughout COVID with General Stanley McChrystal and the other people that advise that organization. But Senator Johnson, it's not a secret that these organizations exist. What is not widely known and talked about is that it's paid for by us. It's paid for by the taxpayers in your omnibus spending bills that get shoved through the House and the Senate against the will of the people of this country. There are cutouts for these NGOs. And what they do is they launder this money, they pass it from one NGO to the next, and in the name of preventing the spread of disinformation, they censor, silence, intimidate, and punish. I said that this is a death sentence for journalists. It's how you murder a journalist without killing them. It's how you murder a scientist without killing them. It's how you murder a doctor without killing them. It's how you murder the vaccine injured when they haven't died yet. It's how you finish them off and everybody else in their family. And it's time for people in this building who come to work every day here, to serve us. This is the only country where we, the people, are the government. This is a government for the people, of the people, and by the people. And the same is said for so-called journalists.
I got to say, listen to me now. What Lara Logan said there, we're going to have to get her on a podcast. I'm going to get her. Actually, I asked her if she wants to join us on the Courage Tour. And so we're going to get her because these women are going to call out what they're doing with the trans agenda, what they're doing. But what she said with the 501c3, Media Matters. I didn't know Media Matters is a 501c3. Heck, I'm a 501c3. And they're out decapitating freedom of speech left and right. The NGO money laundering, Facts First USA, Defeat Disinformation, Defeat Disinfo. I got to hand it to the left. I got to hand it to the devil. He knows how to market. If he's got arsenic, he puts it in the apple pie. And so you got these, we ought to have an organization, a super PAC called, American as Apple Pie. Because you have these titles that are always so disarming. Media Matters. But they are out to censor, silence, intimidate, and punish. Facts First USA, made up of fact checkers from Communist China and Berkeley. Anyway, Lara, is it Lara? Lara.
Lara. I don't know.
We have a Lara on staff.
Is it spelled
I'm always confused
L-A-R-A?
when it's Lara, Laura. I always call her Laura, but that's an L-A-U-R-A. Anyway, what a courageous lady. I want to say this, though. General Stanley McChrystal, who's working like with the David Brocks, these guys make a ton of money. They make a ton of money, and they come off as though they're the information reality people. but they're liars. And they make it hard for people to speak the truth without being in fear of punishment. You look at Giuliani. Giuliani's being bankrupted because what did he do? He challenged what he's looking at in videos, during an election that most people would say is stolen. Can you say that? Well, you might get sued. The next thing they're going to go for, you watch. These cats will come after. They already got Steve Bannon and Navarro. If they could go after them for being on Real America's Voice, they do that. But right now, they'll just go after them for not showing up to some fictitious, kangaroo court hearing. No, folks, I promise you, if we don't hold the line in America, the podcasters are going to get sued. Mark my words. They'll come for your freedom of speech. They'll lock you up and bankrupt you. Well, that's slander. And they'll do that under the guise of policing for the truth, when in fact, they're silencing like Stalin, their opposition. Well, I hope you've been edified today. I'm certainly encouraged. Why am I encouraged? Because we're still able to speak. We're going to see you again tomorrow.
Looks like you've been sleeping well.
Megan, he's back. The MyPillow guy.
And you're looking good.
Still feeling good.
Well, just when you thought it couldn't get any better, we've got the best pillow ever, MyPillow 2.0. When I invented MyPillow, it had everything you'd ever want in a pillow. Well, now there's new technology that makes it even better. MyPillow 2.0 has my patented fill combined with a cooling fabric with temperature-regulating thread. MyPillow 2.0 is truly the next generation of MyPillow.
Now's the time to go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use the promo code to save 50% on your MyPillow 2.0. Not only that, for a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free.
You're sleeping even better.
And cooler, too.
And you're looking good.
Feeling good.
I knew you would.
MyPillow.com.
Go to MyPillow.com and use promo code Lance to save big on all of Mike's best products. That's promo code Lance. Did you enjoy this latest episode? Please remember to share it with your friends, because the more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to navigate the world.